Justice Department, not as a department representing the American people or the public interest, but as a department representing Donald Trump, his criminal liability, his civil liability, to be his shield and also to be his sword and go after his enemies. That's not what the department is for, and we'll find out through the confirmation process whether that is going to be what the department becomes.
Trump didn't pick one of his personal lawyers for Attorney General, but he may have the next best thing. Former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi is a fierce ally who has promised, quote, the prosecutors will be prosecuted and the investigators will be investigated. But only, quote, the bad ones who prosecuted, well, you guessed it, Donald Trump. Frank Figliuzzi is back with us.
So, Frank, let's take it in two parts. You've got both the ways in which Pam Bondi could potentially shield a President Trump, and then you also have this element of retribution. We talked a little bit about what you're hearing from folks at the FBI, the possibility of brain drain as it relates to their future leadership. But there's also this question. I mean, how concerned are folks about this promise that Pam Bondi has made on national television to go after out-of-control federal prosecutors and FBI agents?
Yeah, look, I don't know if it gets much more disturbing than this when we're talking about the role of Attorney General. If you're Attorney General or any lawyer within the Department of Justice, you have one client, and that is the American people. It is not the guy occupying the Oval Office. And so for her to come out of the chute immediately and say, yes, I'm going to be pursuing the President Trump's enemies and prosecuting prosecutors and investigating investigators, tells us where she's coming from. She had a crack here. She had a window of saying, hey, I'm actually a serious attorney. I'm going to take the job seriously. And she's wiped out that possibility. And then add to that while the two attorneys that Trump has named so far that would be under Pam Bondi, Deputy Attorney General, Associate Attorney General, are serious attorneys, let's not forget now that would mean the top three people at the Justice Department are criminal defense attorneys for Donald Trump. So already their mindset is, I have a client. My client is the guy in the White House, and not necessarily the American people.
And that client in the White House is the dangerous, crazy part of all this, because it leads to behavior that is inconsistent with the function of the department as a whole, and a lot of backward-looking thinking about things that this president is fixated on. So I give you what the Washington Post noted on Friday. Trump plans to fire Jack Smith's team, use DOJ to probe 2020 election. Trump is also planning to assemble investigative teams within the Justice Department to hunt for evidence in battleground states that fraud tainted the 2020 election, one of the people said. So to your point, Frank, his lawyers are there to validate for him his deranged thinking about the 2020 election, that the entire system was put upon against him. The fraud was rife, that of all the people on the ballot in 2020, he was the only one who was targeted. That use of the department is also something that's going to be very, very problematic, because it's going to distract from the necessary work it has to do real time otherwise.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind here, well, two things. One is talk about weaponizing the government and the DOJ. They're going to devote resources to pursuing people who he disagrees with politically, career investigators at FBI, prosecutors at DOJ, who simply did their job, who have spouses and kids and just want to have a normal life and not get pursued, possibly having to flee the country. I'm telling you, I'm talking to former colleagues who are wondering whether they need to move out of the country because they're going to be cases against them fabricated, made up. And talking about firing staff, you've got to do that by getting away of civil service protections. And that means lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. And what can the FBI and DOJ really be doing? Like chasing pedophile rings, like taking down violent gangs in your city. But no, we're going to dedicate a workforce to pursuing Trump's enemies. it's going to come to an impasse, and it's going to be in the courts forever.
Hypocrisy especially stark for those who campaigned on public safety. Frank Figliuzzi, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.